Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. Out of the pills and the pencils, out of toothbrushes and night guards, out of CDs and Altoids, out of feathers and staplers, out of time clocks and syllabi, out of tissues and scissors, nothing straight has ever been made. Out of computers and mouse pads, out of CDs and CD-ROMs, out of pens and sedentary mentalisms, out of philosophers and lampshades, out of pennies and a penis, out of calculators and prescription pills, out of envelopes and white envelopes, out of industrial shelving and the moonlight, nothing straight has ever been made. Out of Venetian blinds and dream catchers, out of dreams of Lichtenberg and the desire of art history, out of war and branches, out of shadows of my fingers in your hand, out of your riveting mouth and her weightless eyes, out of rockets and buttons, out of the number 5, and out of a red rhino, out of mustaches and Mona Lisas, out of black numbers, nothing straight has ever been made. Out of colored sand and autumnal trophies, out of chaos and beds, out of a crooked woman in the straight edge of a crystal, out of jade and dust, out of mankind's poor penis and the archaic song of sacrifice, out of Pluto, Medea, and Goofy, out of black boots and Van Gogh's shoes, out of a battered self-portraiture, nothing straight has ever been made. Out of baseballs and dresser drawers, out of blue jays and imitation, out of snow inside worlds and the universe in a walnut, out of no place and the best place, out of an image of hope and the abjection of jargon, out of sheaths and blossoming antennae on the day without adjectives, out of the absolutely necessary meeting of the girl and the swan, bestial for the swan. Nothing entirely straight has ever been made. Out of words, out of dictionaries and guesses, out of the contingent letter and the space between letters, out of the tongue and the T, nothing straight has ever been built. And it ends like this. Out of the forest that somewhat covers me, out of the desire and the strangled globe, out of the forced marriage of the feather, the pen, and the eraser fluid, out of shadows of light, out of the almost invisible sheath and the dream of tactility, out of the swan and the sign, out of the dream and the game and the impossible, on the day of the permanent flaw, with the heat of it, nothing entirely straight was ever made. To the earth. I fell with my father through space, in a space module as round as your thumb. My father remarked of the earth how they had divided everything by 2s or by 1, a joke. It was better by far to visit the other side than stay stranded in that self. We passed the poor Americas, South Africa striped as a zebra, and Russian artists who could not practice their art, the art of the grid, while others wondered whether we had seriously judged the grid. But all over the earth, the artists painted what they wanted except where they could not, or what they needed and did not. And my father worried aloud, knocking on the moonlit plastic module door. When we fell, we screamed, but we were safe in Texas, safe as Texas, safe as Texas in Texas, eating bread, not electrons, madly in love with the earth.
Up at his end of the table, Harry sat peacefully lining up peas on his knife. He filled the length of the blade with single-file peas and raised it to his open mouth and shot it with a motion like a sword swallower. Never a pea was spilled. "Harry!" flew from Ethel's end of the table. Then Harry tipped the peas off his knife and sat quietly. He viewed all the exhibits, tried all the samples, and came back the same night. He was buried in the black suit.
Vanity is no defense.
A lake is a defense.
A laugh is a defense.
They did not defend him, nor did I.
On very hot afternoons, he would come down from the barn and sit on the shore to take the breeze a while. There is something else to tell about this lake that I thought of as Uncle Harry's lake, although on maps it had the name Paint. Once I had surgery. Afterwards, things went awry, what doctors call complications. I lay for some days and nights in a hospital cloud of pain. Then there was a fifth night, and something rose up. I can't call it a dream. It didn't seem to me I was asleep. It was black took, says Gertrude Stein somewhere, and black in the sense of a life or death contest going on. The only action I could put against the pull of this was to insert myself into Uncle Harry's lake and swim continually backwards and out, away from each screen as it approached, away from that suck of death, worst where I swam hour after hour, placing myself into the red stalks of the water lilies, stifling their weight in the vast silence of underwater. My father went up north in winter and came back angry and sad. He has to leave that farm, he would say. Nobody can tell Harry anything, he would say. Finally, Harry got gangrene in his leg. There was a family consultation of everybody, not Harry. Everybody, not Harry, decided. My father and his 2 brothers went up north and took Harry out of the farmhouse into hospital. The gangrene healed, but Harry's dementia impressed the doctors. He was transferred to a psychiatric ward and never went home again. I remember visiting him at the hospital with my father. The psychiatric ward was separated from the rest of the building by solid walls of steel mesh and a difference of lighting. Uncle Harry stood in a total fury. I don't recall anything else. I don't believe he spoke. We left him in his bright room. My father vanished into the warden's office while I waited on a chair.
Keep away from that door, dear.
Keep away from that door, dear.
How
are you at keeping away from that door?
And to whom would the commas feel like cattle brands?
There is not such an end.
Do we need a finale? Everyone needs a finale.